Honolulu years ago. I'm 24 years old and I'm walking on stage at the Crow's Nest in Santa Cruz, California. It's my first time hosting this Saturday night's Crow's Nest comedy show. I gaze out into a sea of about 150 preppy bros in baseball caps watching the Raiders on big screens, high-fiving each other with every rude crack to the waitress. They should really call it the Bros Nest in my mind, but I get there. These dudes, I think, they're here because the music is pumping and the brews are flowing and the tits are showing and because, well, they want to see comedy. But they don't want to see me. I, on stage, I'm now dressed in combat boots, army shorts. I have short, spiky hair. I look like a cross between a 70s punk lesbian and maybe Matthew Broderick in Biloxi Blues. It's a weird combo. And I open with a Bros Nest type joke. Homeless people in San Francisco are constantly asking me for money, and their signs don't even make sense. I saw this one sign today, pregnant, homeless, and hungry. And I'm like, fuck off, dude. It goes well. There's a big laugh for sure. But that's the only mean joke I have. So it's all downhill from here. My high concept humor isn't gonna go over here. But I still put my all into it. Hey, you guys, I figured out, finally, this is an old joke. I wrote it when I was 10. I finally figured out how to stop the VCR clock from flashing. Wanna see? Okay. It works. Crickets. The whole audience, crickets. I do this for 15 minutes. Cute, absurd joke after cute, absurd joke for people who hated me in high school, and I totally bomb. I introduce the male headliner. He kills it. The dick jokes, the women are crazy, work is hard, blah, 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 but they are eating it up with every, you know what I'm talking about? My heart breaks a little more. I'm sensitive, but I do not understand this at the time. I want to be loved. I want to be celebrated. I want an audience that sees me. And driving home that night, I am crying so hard. I hate that freaking crowd. I hate myself. I kind of want to die. Comedy is the only thing I want to do in life. Why can't I be good at the thing I love to do? Let's rewind, shall we? I'm 14 years old. I'm standing on stage in a long yellow and white tent in front of 400 people who I don't know. Next to me is a man wearing a white lab coat and a red clown nose. I have raised my hand and been chosen to play the nurse in a comedy sketch where, get this, an Ayurvedic clown doctor is operating on a patient in an emergency room. I'm here at this event because my father, who is a holistic doctor, has taken me to an international symposium on herbalism. And suddenly we are the big entertainment for the conference on Saturday night. So, having been chosen, I walk on stage. I'm given this white nurse costume to throw over my shorts, and the scene begins. No instructions from the head clown. The doctor, or should I say clown doctor, is operating on a volunteer patient. He asks me for a scalpel. I find a big cartoon scalpel, this big, in the box. I hand it to him, and even though I give it to him lightly, he pretends I have slapped his hand. Ah! He screams in pain, pulls the surgical cap over my face. I pull it back up. We get a big laugh. Hey, this is fun. This is fun. This is what I was thinking. Next, he asks for the scissors. I find the toy scissors and extra lightly hand them to him, but he still wails in pain, as if I've slammed it down to punish me. Again, he pulls the surgical cap over my eyes. I pull it back up with a look on my face, and we get another big laugh. Next, he asks me for the needle and thread. I as lightly as I possibly can, hand him the giant plastic needle and thread. He screams in pain as if I have slapped it down yet again. But then he goes back to operating the patient. This time, he doesn't pull the surgical cap over my face. And something in me just knows what to do. I pull the surgical cap over my own face. The audience cracks up. He is still clown operating on the clown patient, not looking up. Somehow I know to just hold and stand there with the cap over my face and wait and wait and wait for the doctor to notice what I have done. The crowd starts to lose it as they are waiting with me. And now he's milking it and I'm milking it and they're losing their shit. Finally, at the perfect moment, he looks up over at me, sees the cap over my face, pulls it off, and I hear the uproarious laughter of 400 herbalists echoing through the walls of the tent. This is not my first hit of laughter, but it is the biggest so far, and the feeling is unlike any I have experienced. I feel connected with my fellow improvisers, deeply seen and supported by the genius of the Ayurvedic clown. I see the ear-to-ear grins on their faces in the audience and energetically feel the joyful energy of 400 people whooshing toward me and deep in my bones. I have just acquired the knowing that whatever just occurred happened through some miraculous set of circumstances that I was a really big part of. I feel flow and magic moving through me. And that night and all the next day, the people in the conference, they're all adults, remember, and I'm 14. They're coming up to me telling me, oh my God, I enjoyed your performance. You were so funny. You were so amazing. And from this moment on, I know that this is for me. The truth is, I've already known this is for me. From kindergarten on, I've been incessantly made fun of. I've been teased. I guess you'd call that bullying today for, not fitting in. I was a scrawny Jewish herbalist with braces and a big nose, daydreaming in class. I had been the butt of other kids' jokes. Though I don't remember anyone really laughing at these jokes. I got tired of being on the wrong team all the time. So for kicks, sometimes I'd join in with them and tease myself. I started watching comedy on TV as a kid and making silly videos and longing to be connected with that power of laughter. A voice of this burning desire in the pit of my stomach is just constantly saying, get on stage, get on stage. And another voice, a prickly one in my head says, no way, who do you think you are? What, you think you're funny and important and deserve to be up there? No. And the burning in the pit of my stomach voice says, who do I think I am? I'm the girl who pulled the surgical cap over my own face, so suck it! I am going to be a comedian when I grow up. So back to the crow's nest. Yes. I drive home, I cry myself to sleep that night after, the bro's nest, let's call it. And I search myself. Why am I not succeeding more? Why am I not funnier? Why am I not happier? I thought comedy was my life purpose. But my life purpose is making me feel like shit. And that makes it really hard to be relaxed and write good jokes. I have become creatively paralyzed. So I take a deep breath and I quit. I go to therapy, I join 12-step groups, I do medicine journeys and sit Vipassana retreats, I take acting classes and personal growth workshops, I finish healing my inner child, I travel to India, I become enlightened, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I didn't heal my inner child. I mean, whoever actually finishes that, right? In India, I discover laughter yoga. What? And I go to my first laughter yoga class. And it's kind of wacky. Ha ha ha, ho ho ho. I don't know if you've been. It's ha ha ha, ho ho ho, ha ha ha, ho ho. And it's a disturbing but wonderful experience that I start to relax into. And as I finally start to feel like, the beautiful fool that I am, I flash back to this, what I thought was a very seemingly insignificant moment from my past. Mark Maron is headlining at Cobb's, and before his set, he sits down to watch the opener. And get this, he's laughing. I had thought at a certain point, headliners just stop watching comedy and become jaded. And I ask him, I sit down because I have a big crush on him. I, try to get close. He says, "Oh, hey, Dattner," because I used to be Dattner back in the day. And I ask him, "Oh, why are you watching these opening comics?" He's like, to enjoy the show. Really? You're not beyond watching an opener? You're actually laughing at the comedy? He's befuddled. And I realize, oh my God, it's not cool to be miserable and jaded and think you're better and funnier than everyone else. Even this super neurotic dude can let go and laugh, and even at the newbie's material. And I realized, oh my God, the point of comedy for me had been to return to be in that innocent feeling of that uncontrollable belly laughter that you can't do anything about. And of course, finally, that's what I'm doing again in this laughter yoga class. I'm laughing like crazy with 100 other whack jobs. No joke needed. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. I'm making other people feel it. I love it. I start to really get like, oh my God, we're supposed to be like childish idiots. That's what laughter is. So I dive in and I get certified to teach laughter yoga. And let me tell you, it is a lot less work to just tell people to laugh than to write jokes and try to convince them. And I realized in this training that through my years of somatic training and authentic relating training, that I could actually guide people into an even deeper space of relaxation and safety than the basic ha 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 ho ho ho. A space that actually allows people to begin to simply feel whatever you're feeling, to let your voice express that feeling in the moment, and suddenly previously unfelt or blocked anger and grief and fear just comes up and out. It gets felt and released. And then like a bubbling well, joy and laughter just automatically find their way to the surface. For some people, it takes a little longer than others. Of course, the comedian part of me still feels like laughter yoga is dumb. But stand-up was not working. I was sensitive, I was jaded, I was unimpressed by humans in general. And my heart won't allow me to throw comedy away, but I keep it on a high shelf, collecting dust and crawling with ants. And eventually, my now long-term boyfriend, let's just call him Biff, he turns to me. "Alicia, it's time we get serious. I want babies. But this means you have to get a real job. Comedy is a cute hobby, but having a dual income is needed for the 5 kids I want." I kind of can't believe he's saying this. Getting married, popping out 5 freaking kids, and getting some stupid, boring day job to pay for it all, that sounds like slavery to me. Doing nothing I want, and I guess really with a guy I don't want to do it with. I can't believe what he just said. A hobby. An effing hobby, my life's work. To save the world through comedy is an effing hobby? That's how you see my work? No, he says. That's how you're treating it. Oh my God. This is the most real thing he has ever said to me. I hadn't realized I was holding myself back on so many levels. And that day, okay, like 6 months after that day, I break up with him. I move out. I proceed to start taking comedy seriously. And hearing that wake-up call, I'm determined to find out what would happen if I gave it my all for once. Because we have to do our psycho-spiritual emotional work in this life. I believe if you don't do anything to improve yourself, by the time you reach adulthood, you become an exact combination of your mother and your father. But if you do work on yourself, people can't tell. So anyway, this is the moment I declare my new intention: to write and perform the best stand-up comedy show of my entire life and give it my all for the first time ever. And I know that trying to go it alone, like I have my whole life, isn't going to work this time. Well, it never worked before, so I guess it's not going to work this time either. So I surround myself with support. A comedy mentor, a coach, a therapist, a director, a sponsor, a best friend. I ask them all to hold my hand and kick my butt at the same time, to hold me accountable. And in the span of 6 months, I write and perform a solo show about my dream of being a famous comedian and everything that gets in my way, which is a lot. But with support, I hone, edit, rehearse, and show the hell up for myself. And in that show, I give myself permission to do what I never could do at a club. What do you think that is? Be myself. I do jokes, but also I sing and I dance and I roll around on the floor and I tell my story. And my show premieres at the San Francisco Fringe Festival, sells out all 4 shows, and wins Best Female Solo and Best of the Fringe. And this is what launches my career as a whole other kind of comedian, and eventually a solo show workshop leader and comedy coach, and doing self-revelatory, spiritually awake comedy and facilitating this process for other people. My life is so much richer than it ever would have been had I been successful at 24 telling tampon jokes. And discovering the intersection of comedy and spirituality has been so rich. I have had to make some big sacrifices. Being a full-on comedian seems a lot cooler. And being a full-on spiritual seeker seems a lot more productive, but somehow I'm finding my way to doing both. Because I love watching people pop. And having now supported hundreds of people in the process of using humor and storytelling as a tool for transformation, I have learned so much about the sacred mechanics of what comedy really does to and for us. I want to tell you what these things are. Number 1, people have extremely powerful transformations. Number 2, they discover what we're really doing on stage is a ritual and a sacred initiation. And 3, they get the power of laughter connecting them and the audience to the divine within. In this process, leading up to these initiations, I have had to alchemize some crazy shit. I have involuntarily led exorcisms, family constellations for ancestral healing, suicide interventions, drama therapy, and a whole shit ton of dance parties. I did those voluntarily. So much more material has come up for people in these workshops than I even imagined. People have created comedy from such intense topics as existential loneliness, failed businesses, joyful atheism, molestation by priests, body shaming, plant medicine, pussy power, racial tension, so much more. Like Sarah, who has a chronic illness. She walks on stage in the first class of the workshop. Sarah is a seasoned actor who wants to finally speak her own lines. And maybe I'm being a little bit mean, but I just let her stand there for a minute. Just to see how it is to be, and she knows how to do this. The room falls silent. Everyone's wondering what's supposed to happen. And then I ask her the question that I ask all of my students on the very first night. Sarah, what is the most important moment of your life? I was actually hoping for like the formula for comedy. I don't know why we're going into this other stuff. I say, Sarah, there is no formula. There's no framework, no structure. Every story I begin to tell the whole class, every story you will tell springs from this simple question. You thought you were coming to a comedy workshop and I have tricked you. I'm sorry. Because for me, comedy emerges out of pain. And getting to the funny is an ego-crushing, soul-retrieving, hero-journeying process. It is the authentic human in you, Sarah, that I want to see. The real being, not the character comedian. So fast forward 8 weeks for her big performance. Sarah is about to talk and hopefully joke about her chronic illness. And I'm hosting the show, so I set the stage. Welcome. I'm so honored to have you here. Tonight, you as the audience are witnessing a sacred ritual. Your loving presence as witnesses is actually, can you believe this, as important a role as Sarah's is. And I invite you to behold Sarah's story with the curiosity and presence of a doula watching a new baby being born. What if tonight, audience and performer become one giant feedback loop of interdependent energies that come together to create an alchemy? What if we become an ecosystem, a biosphere, a Gaia of comedy? What if Sarah has given herself permission to unveil the deepest, darkest, painful parts of her life, and she is about to emerge from her imaginal cocoon, weaving together all the work she's already done in her life, transforming herself before our very eyes into a beautiful butterfly? Sarah gets on, and to her surprise, but not mine, not only does she talk and joke about her chronic illness, not only does the audience accept her, they also laugh with her along the way, their mirror neurons firing, everyone feeling and healing together, and it really truly becomes this rich, momentous, ecstatic peak experience of being seen and loved that truly changes her. I wish I could say something wonderful like, and then she was healed from her chronic disease. She just had a lot more fun in her life after that. And she was healed. No, I'm kidding. Okay, stop, Alicia. So let's go back. Do you remember the big yellow tent? Well, 5 years after my Ayurvedic comedy debut at 14, I am actually doing stand-up comedy. I am living the dream I had as a kid. I'm in San Francisco in the comedy scene, writing jokes, making comedy friends, getting up at clubs. And it's really fun at first. See, I'd wanted to become a famous comedian, as I mentioned, so I could save the world from environmental disaster, but I don't climb the comedy ladder as fast as other people are. And really at this point, after a few years, I'm really lucky if I can get booked as an opener on a road gig. And as the years tick by, I start to become pretty miserable. Doing 5 minutes at an open mic is not fun anymore. I'd be at a comedy show all night, watching so many comedians and occasionally slapping the table saying, yeah, wow, that's funny. in a fit of jealousy. No belly laughs, no losing myself in the comedy, no joy. And that was the problem. I was 100% ego, 0% joy. Maybe a 40-60 split would have been a better split. I was a depressed comedian. I was paralyzed by bitterness and fear, confused about why what I love doesn't love me back. So you've heard the studies on the beneficial effects of laughter. Has everyone, all about this, right? You've read the studies, you know what it does. When you laugh, you release endorphins. You raise your tolerance for physical and emotional pain. You increase oxygen to your brain. You get cardiovascular exercise. When you laugh for 3 minutes, it's like 10 minutes on a rowing machine. It's amazing. You spark new neural connections. The elasticity of your brain returns to how it was when you were 5 for the 5 seconds after you laugh. I hope that's true. Someone in a laughter yoga teacher training told it to me, and it just sounds amazing. Basically, similar benefits to exercise and sex, but unlike exercise and sex with laughter, you don't have to get up off of your couch or be a seduction master to get these benefits. You don't even have to put on makeup. In fact, laughing usually takes off your makeup. But beyond the science, shouldn't we just be laughing every day? Because life is boring without it. The act of laughing is the act of having perspective. When you laugh, you are feeling and noticing at the same time. You're being both present and in an experience of witnessing at the same time. Where else do you do that? As you laugh, firing those endorphins, which allows you to tolerate that pain more, to integrate pain more. You can have peace inside of something that you thought was negative, that you, through that physiological and emotional exercise, you can have a breakthrough. And if you can tell a painful story and laugh at it, you embody the transformation. And then you have an embodied experience of that transformation, of that awareness, that witnessing and experiencing. You're giving the whole audience that energetic transmission of how to embody it. You gift it to them through your mirror neurons. And that experience, in fact, ripples out to everybody that they experience, so that it informs your life and their lives and the lives of the people they touch. Humor is healing. Another participant in my comedy workshop, let's call her Lila, because why not? She was really fixed on doing a stand-up set about her experience of family sexual abuse. She really, truly wants to make it funny. And she attempts it valiantly. Each week in class, working on these jokes, until one night, having repeated the jokes several times in rehearsal, she breaks down in tears, realizing even after lots of therapy, she hasn't fully processed the feelings about the abuse. And I get up, I stop her mid-set, I invite her to breathe. We hug, she weeps. The women in class hold her. The show is a week away. She's so determined, but I say, Lila, you've done your work. You felt it all the way through. No need to do the jokes, sister. And she's relieved, and honestly, so are we. And I say, as a totally optional bonus, if you feel up to it, you could try something out. You could write a story about this whole process. Well, to my surprise, the next week she comes back to class and does just that. She tells the whole story of how she tried to make light of the abuse. She mentions the jokes she had planned to tell, how the whole thing failed, the feelings she moved through, how powerful she feels now telling this story, and somehow she manages to make that funny. She decides to perform it, and there isn't a dry eye in the house. and lots of laughter too. And a week after her show, her boyfriend calls me to let me know how much more open and safe she feels with him, how their relationship has reached a whole new level. Her life blossoms. And I have to tell you all that for me as a comedian on a spiritual journey, you can imagine I have now done this in my own life, in my own show, over and over again for many years, confronting more and more difficult parts of myself, shedding layers of snakeskin, stepping into bigger and more real versions of myself, speaking more powerful truths and making them deeper and funnier each time. The power of humor is that it allows you to deal with pain. And you master the ability to see the funny in a painful situation. You allow yourself to feel the pain of this situation, and you also witness the suffering as extraneous. You do the judo of seeing yourself in that situation while you're feeling it. You become strong and humble and aware enough to let other people laugh at your suffering for their benefit, for their healing. Because when they see you holding your pain lightly, not having to be in control of how you're seen, they can laugh at their own foibles in a soft and tender way. And when everybody in the room does that together, it's like dancing to blues music. It's like sweetly dancing with your pain. It's bittersweet, it's soulful. It calls our souls back into our bodies. It embodies us. We remember. It enriches our lives. It allows us to tolerate pain and release suffering and come home to ourselves and come alive again. Okay, so this is a wacky story I just remembered. It's my freshman year in high school. And I'm at a bowling alley with 5 super cool new friends from my Unitarian summer camp. Grunge has just hit, and we're all wearing the long white underwear, waffled, under our plaid flannel shirts. And of course, bowling shoes, which I really want to steal because they go perfectly with the outfit, but I don't steal them. You've all heard of the Unitarian Church. Do you know about this place? It's a church where Jews go to learn how to become Buddhist. It's a gateway church. But anyway, so as I am doing my bowling wind up, I don't know how to bowl. I'm just doing the wind up, and I mistakenly, come forward, and I slip over the slippery line. I step over that slippery line, and both my feet slide up over my head. Bowling ball slams down into the gutter. I fall flat on my back. It hurts so much. I want to cry. But instead, somehow in that moment, I imagine what it must have looked like. What a perfect pratfall I just did. How hilarious it must have been. And laying on the floor, I just start to crack up. I'm like, oh my God, did you guys see that? My friends come back. What happened? Are you okay? Oh my God, did you miss my big fall? Yeah, we were getting Slurpees. And that's when I start to cry. Oh my God, you guys missed the best pratfall of my life. It'll never happen again. It still hurts, but that's what I'm crying about. And I want my mommy. I didn't get to decide how the comedy happened. I didn't get to decide. I had no control over that moment other than the decision to laugh at myself. And that bittersweetness, that's what makes us both human and design. That's interesting. Human design. I'm a projector. Hello. Freudian slip. It makes us both human and divine. Comedy is magic. And it can happen to you. But you're not in control of it. I don't get to decide what kind of comedian I am. Comedy decides. I don't get to be the shocking, hip, mean kind of comedian that makes my boyfriend laugh so hard he cries. Like Sarah Silverman does, fucker. It turns out that I have to be the incisive yet tender comedian that makes him slap the table and say, yeah, that's funny. Humor awakens the mind. It opens the heart. It's a missing ingredient, an untapped superpower. It's an undervalued resource. But when we try to manipulate it and treat it like a commodity and only use it to sell toothpaste and cars, we degrade comedy. We elevate it when we use it to subvert oppression, to speak truth to power. It's cliche, I know, but that's what we're doing. What else is there to say? Speaking forbidden truths using the veil of humor unlocks the intellectual, emotional, and spiritual freedom we're seeking. Humor subverts slavery of the mind, numbness of the heart, commodification of the soul. It's like comedy is a goddess, and she breaks us open like Kali. She's a ruthless, fierce, reckless goddess who laughs in your face. And if you let her in, she will destroy you in the best possible way. She will destroy your illusions, your suffering, your old tired stories, and leave you with the only thing you really need: your soul. It's your soul. That's all you need. We need to call in the goddess of comedy right now. We need her. We need to allow ourselves to be her fool, the archetype of the comedian, the fool. That's what we need at this insane time. The fool takes the pratfalls for all of us, represents us all. He lets us laugh at our failures. The brilliance of the comedian is that we show you how to take a pratfall right in front of your eyes, laugh, get right back up, and do it again, and then maybe cry after when we're off stage. As comedians, we put our struggles, our pain on full display as an act of generosity, service, and contribution to others. So we may act like the idiot or the fool or the asshole, but what's running in the background for us to make it powerful is strength, humility, and awareness. We can laugh at our struggles to gain power over them, and you can too, by witnessing and laughing at us. And in fact, you can become the comedian, the fool of your own life. I mean, comedy, that's what separates us from robots, right? We're never gonna wanna see a robot doing a pratfall. We wanna see humans doing it. And there's something really tender and beautiful about humans slipping and falling. That goodness of comedy, that goddess goodness. What? She's the goddess and the goodness of comedy. She takes everything away, including our dignity, and she leaves us with an empty space, with our soul. That laughter calls the soul back, our laughing Buddha soul, right? What's the Buddha saying? Life is suffering. We might as well laugh because there's no getting away from it. And I have to tell you, coming out on the other side, having done this now for many, many years, the business of comedy sucks. It is still so hard. But being on stage, this is my happy place, where everything is right with the world, where I am who I am, and I win when I surrender to the goddess of comedy. I find joy in being on stage, no matter how the audience responds. Not really, but occasionally there are moments when I don't care. And today, having my own shows and calling in the right audience means that people love my shows and it goes so well. And I deserve an audience that gets me and gets something from me. And today they do. I've now performed around the world. I've won a ton of awards. I have runs of my show. My comedy special is being distributed. I'm working on a TV show. But most importantly, I now do what I love. I love making people laugh. And I want that for you too, even if it's just to tell them laugh for no reason. Thank you so much.